Hundreds of Palestinian prisoners were released in exchange for 6 Israeli hostages this last week. These Palestinian prisoners include dozens of arch-terrorists serving life sentences in prison. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been invited to the United States to meet with President Donald Trump about the future of Gaza and lasting peace in the Middle East. This meeting at the White House is truly historic, but many people don't realize the magnitude of what is really on the line for Israel. Stay tuned. I'm Josiah Hilton, and this is the Israel Guide. Last week, President Donald Trump invited Netanyahu to the White House to meet. Netanyahu is the first foreign leader that Trump has invited to the White House since he was inaugurated, and this invitation is reflecting the kind of priority that Israel has with this new administration in the White House. Before boarding his plane here in Israel, Bibi Netanyahu said,
"The decisions we made in the war have already changed the face of the Middle East. Our decisions and the courage of our soldiers have redrawn the map. But I believe that working closely with President Trump, we can redraw it even further and for the better. I believe that we can strengthen security, broaden the circle of peace, and achieve a remarkable era of peace through strength." Thank you very much.
Now, Netanyahu flew to the United States yesterday. The Prime Minister's office said this in a statement upon his arrival. The Prime Minister was received at the Blair House, the official and historic guest residence of the White House, by the House manager, who noted that this is Netanyahu's 14th visit to the Blair House, more than any other foreign leader in the history of the residence, which was built in the 19th century. Thought that was pretty significant. This in-person meeting between Trump and Netanyahu is much bigger than what most people realize. Like or hate what has happened with the recent hostage ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, it's hard to deny that it seems the main force making things happen with the deal is America's new president, Donald Trump. Now, even before he took office, he was already helping to negotiate this deal and pushing both Hamas and Israel to make concessions to make the deal happen. Now, President Trump has been touting the idea of relocating Palestinians to neighboring countries such as Egypt and Jordan due to the obvious untenable situation of a lot of the Gaza Strip being destroyed and Gazans simply having nowhere to go. After the ceasefire went into effect, Gazans returned to northern Gaza in droves, only to find most of their homes destroyed by the now 16-month-long war. So since these Gazans returned to northern Gaza, many of them have returned back to the south of Gaza, demanding that the border crossings be opened and they be allowed to leave the war zone. Now, this is a reasonable demand, and similar situations in places like Syria saw millions of refugees relocate to neighboring countries, and even some to countries in Europe. Despite the sensibility of this suggestion by President Trump, the international community, as well as countries involved, namely Egypt and Jordan, have said absolutely not. So apparently, the Palestinians are the only group in the world who do not have the right to leave the war zone, leave Gaza and the West Bank, because then there wouldn't be any need to create a Palestinian state, and then, well, the world would have nothing to talk about. There's a lot on the table with this specific meeting between America and Israel's leaders. A few things that we know for sure create some apprehension for Israel's future, what the outcome of this meeting will be. Number one, President Trump, we know this, President Trump wants the 16-month-long war in Gaza to end now. Number two, the recent hostages coming home have created a situation in Israel and around the world where many people are so overjoyed that they're coming home that they forgot the horrors of what brought us here in the beginning and why Hamas still needs to be destroyed. And number three is Netanyahu wants to establish a good relationship with Trump so that America will continue to back Israel. These are some of the things that make me a little bit apprehensive with this meeting, Netanyahu going into this meeting with Trump. Despite Trump's smart idea of relocating some of the Gazans to neighboring countries, if he pressures Israel into negotiating the second phase of this ceasefire deal, then the IDF would completely withdraw from the Gaza Strip, leaving Hamas in charge just like before October 7th. For Netanyahu, he knows that most of his government is not in favor of withdrawing from Gaza until all the objectives that Israel set out to accomplish in response to October 7th are achieve, namely to bring in all the hostages, bring them all home, and completely destroy Hamas. So Netanyahu needs to convince Trump that ending the war now will not achieve peace in the Gaza Strip or for Israel. One good thing for Israel is that Trump is very much aligned on the issue of the Iranian threat to Israel. In a recent interview with Sean Hannity of Fox News, President Trump re-emphasized that Iran cannot obtain nuclear weapons. Also, Netanyahu's comments before he left Israel suggest that he is hopeful the talks could pave the way for the expansion of the Abraham Accords with other countries such as Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Israel's Prime Minister is scheduled to meet with Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, today, Monday, for discussions on the second phase of the ceasefire deal. We'll be right back with the rest of the show in just 1 second. But first, you know Israel recently celebrated 75 years since their rebirth in 1948. And now you can commemorate this monumental milestone with a beautiful and educational photo book called Israel the Miracle. This limited edition coffee table book brings together the voices of over 75 Christian leaders from around the world, like Pat Robertson, Dr. Ben Carson, Anne Graham Lotz, our very own founder, Tommy Waller, and many more. Each one offers powerful insights, reflections, and stories, sharing their personal experiences with Israel's land and people. Through stunning photography and artwork, Israel the Miracle transports you to the heart of the Promised Land, both its ancient past and vibrant present. A book that not only commemorates 75 years of Israel's miraculous journey, but also deepens your connection to its enduring legacy. Best of all, right now, Israel the Miracle, the photo book, is available at an incredible 50% off discount. Click the link in the description below to get your copy today. We only have a limited number of copies of this beautiful book left, and they won't last long at this price. So don't delay. Israel the Miracle, a beautiful tribute to faith, history, and the enduring power of God's promises, can be yours right now. Just click the link in the description below to get your copy today. As per the hostage deal, on Thursday, Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages as well as 5 Thailand workers who were being held hostage in the Gaza Strip, also kidnapped on October 7th. The Israelis released were IDF soldier Agam Berger, 20 years old, and civilians Arbel Yehud, 29, and Gadi Moses, 80 years old. These Israelis spent 482 days in brutal captivity in the Gaza Strip. Now, as the PIJ, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hamas were transferring one of the hostages, Arbel Yehud, to the Red Cross, a video was released showing the insane chaos that erupted. Take a watch. As you can see in these videos, thousands of Palestinian men surround the PIJ and Hamas terrorists guarding Arbel, shouting and pressing in on all sides. You have one Israeli woman, a hostage, who's been held for 482 days, and thousands of Palestinians pushing in from all sides. Now, the level of excitement in the crowd is absolutely deafening. I know if I had been in her shoes, I would have been absolutely 100% afraid for my life. Now, thank God she made it out of Gaza safely and was reunited with their parents soon after, but not without outrage from the Israeli government. Right after this video surfaced, the Prime Minister of Israel made a statement and said, "I view the shocking scenes during the release of our hostages with great severity. This is yet another proof of Hamas's unimaginable cruelty. I demand that the mediators ensure such horrific scenes do not happen again and guarantee the safety of our hostages. Anyone who dares to harm our hostages will bear the consequences." Sure enough, soon after, it was announced that the release of the Palestinian terrorists who were to be exchanged and released for the Israeli hostages was delayed until the mediators of the agreement could ensure the safety of future exchanges. The release was delayed 3 hours. 110 Palestinian prisoners were released in exchange for the 3 Israeli hostages. Among those released, Zakaria Zubedi. Didn't pronounce that right, but that's okay. Former commander of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, who is responsible for dozens of terror attacks against Israelis during the Second Intifada. He was also responsible for a terror attack in Bet Shean in 2002 that killed 6 people. When he was released, he was greeted in the streets of Ramallah by thousands of cheering Palestinians. On Saturday, Hamas released 3 more Israelis: Keith Siegel, Ofer Calderon, and Yardan Bibas. Yardan Bibas is the father of Ariel and Kfir Bibas, who are still being held captive by Hamas with their mother, Shiri. 183 Palestinian prisoners were released by Israel in exchange for the hostages. On Saturday, at least 18 of these Palestinian prisoners were serving life sentences. The impact that these released terrorists will have on here in Israel was actually just clearly shown Saturday night. On Saturday night, a terrorist cell was traveling out of Jenin on their way to commit a terror attack. One of the terrorists was Abdel al-Hadi. I won't even finish his name. He's a terrorist. He doesn't need to be recognized. Who was released. This terrorist was released in part of the hostage deal in November of 2023. Thank God, the IDF intelligence was watching these guys and eliminated them in an airstrike on the vehicle. Subsequent explosions showed that there were indeed weapons in the vehicle. Unfortunately, most of these terrorists that were just released will try and commit more acts of terror, just like this guy on Saturday night, against Israel, and we pray to God that they will be unsuccessful in their dark schemes. May the God who never slumbers nor sleeps watch over his people and his land, protecting them from all harm. That's all for today, guys. Please pray for this upcoming meeting with President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that they would be of the same mind on what is best for the nation of Israel and would not compromise 1 inch on Israel's security. Make sure to check out the photo book, Israel the Miracle, and purchase your copy today. Subscribe and get the conversation going down in the comments below. And as always, stop listening to those lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is happening here in Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel Guys.